The rain fell in sheets against the window of the small coffee shop where 18-year-old Maya Chen sat alone, her untouched cup of chamomile tea growing cold before her. Her hands trembled as she stared at the two pink lines on the pregnancy test, hidden beneath a crumpled napkin. Two lines that had just rewritten her entire future. 3 months ago, she had been the girl with everything. A full scholarship to Stanford, parents who adored her, and a boyfriend whose smile made her forget how to breathe. Alexander Blackwood wasn't just any college sophomore. He was heir to Blackwood Industries, a tech empire valued at $12 billion. But to Maya, he had simply been Alex, the boy who read poetry to her under oak trees and promised her forever. Now, sitting in this rain-soaked cafe on the outskirts of San Francisco, Maya realized that forever had an expiration date. She pulled out her phone for the 100th time, scrolling to Alex's contact. The last message she'd sent 3 weeks ago still showed as delivered, but unread. The one before that, the same. And the dozens before those, all swallowed into digital silence. His social media accounts had vanished overnight. His phone number disconnected. The apartment they'd spent countless evenings in together now belonged to strangers who had never heard his name. Alexander Blackwood had erased himself from her life as thoroughly as if he'd never existed at all. Maya pressed her palm against her still flat stomach, feeling nothing yet, but knowing everything had changed. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and Maya's heart seized, a Pavlovian response she'd developed over weeks of hoping every tall, dark-haired man might be him. But it was just an elderly woman shaking rain from her umbrella. Her phone buzzed. The name on the screen made her stomach drop. Mom. "Maya!" Her mother's voice was ice. "Your father and I need you home, now." The drive home took 40 minutes through the rain, each mile adding weight to the dread settling in Maya's chest. Her parents had been distant lately, ever since she'd started dating Alex. They'd never approved. "He's from a different world," her father had warned. "Those people don't marry girls like you. They use them." The front door opened before she reached it. Her father stood silhouetted against the warm light inside, his face carved from stone. Maya's mother sat rigid on the living room couch, a manila envelope clutched in her white-knuckled hands. Neither parent asked her to sit. "Mrs. Patterson saw you at the pharmacy last week, buying a pregnancy test." Her mother's voice trembled with barely contained fury. "Are you pregnant?" Maya's silence was answer enough. Her mother thrust the manila envelope toward her. "This came today, from Blackwood Industries' legal department." Maya's blood turned to ice as she opened it. Inside was a non-disclosure agreement, with a check attached. Her eyes scanned the words. "Agrees to make no claims against Alexander Blackwood in exchange for the sum of $500,000. "They're paying you off," her father spat, "like you're some problem to be solved." "You have 1 hour to pack your things," her mother said, each word a nail in a coffin. "After that, you are no longer welcome in this house." Maya felt the room tilt. "You can't be serious. I'm your daughter. I'm pregnant." Her father opened the front door, letting the rain sweep in. "You should have thought about that before you ruined your life for a billionaire's son." Have you ever had a moment when your entire world collapsed? When the people you trusted most became strangers? Share your story in the comments below. Welcome back, family. If you're settled in and ready for this journey, subscribe now and tell me in the comments where in the world are you watching from. Because tomorrow, I've got another incredible story waiting for you. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's begin. The Sunrise Shelter for Young Mothers wasn't much. A converted Victorian house with creaking floors and mismatched furniture. But to Maya, walking through its doors at dawn felt like finding shore after drowning. A woman named Grace ran the shelter with quiet efficiency and fierce compassion. She was 63, with silver-streaked hair and eyes that had seen every kind of heartbreak. She asked Maya no questions that first morning, simply showed her to a small room with a narrow bed and clean sheets. "Rest," Grace said. "Tomorrow, we figure out the rest." Maya slept for 14 hours straight. Over the following weeks, Maya discovered she wasn't alone in her circumstances. The shelter housed 11 other young women, each carrying her own story of abandonment, betrayal, or misfortune. But it was 20-year-old Destiny Williams that became Maya's closest friend. Destiny was 7 months pregnant, with a laugh that filled rooms and a wisdom far beyond her years. She'd aged out of foster care at 18, gotten pregnant by a boyfriend who disappeared the moment she showed him the test. "Men are like buses," Destiny told Maya one evening as they folded donated baby clothes together. "Miss one, another comes along. But your baby, that's forever. That's the love that stays." Maya touched her growing belly, now 4 months along. "Doesn't it scare you, doing this alone?" "Terrified, but scared and incapable are 2 different things. My mama was 15 when she had me, raised me alone until she passed when I was 12. She was the strongest person I ever knew." She squeezed Maya's hand. "You're stronger than you think, Maya. I see it in you." Grace connected Maya with resources she didn't know existed: prenatal care programs, continuing education options, job training. Maya threw herself into building a new life, determined to prove that her parents, that Alexander, that everyone who'd written her off was wrong. She got a part-time job at a bookstore 3 blocks from the shelter. The owner, Mr. Hoffman, was a widower in his 70s who reminded Maya of the grandfather she'd lost years ago. He let her read during slow hours and always asked about her doctor's appointments with genuine concern. "You know what I've learned in 74 years?" Mr. Hoffman said one afternoon. "The chapters of our lives that start with tragedy often end with triumph. Keep turning pages, Maya." At night, Maya still dreamed of Alexander. She dreamed of his hands in her hair, his voice reading Neruda by candlelight, his promise whispered against her skin. "You're my forever, Maya. Nothing will ever change that." She would wake with tears on her pillow, hatred and love warring in her heart. Some nights she took out the crumpled NDA and stared at it. $500,000. Blood money. Silence money. She hadn't signed it. She didn't know if she ever would. But as months passed, the dreams came less frequently. The sharp edges of betrayal slowly dulled. Maya began to feel something she hadn't expected. Hope. Tentative and fragile, but real. Then, on a crisp October morning, when Maya was 7 months pregnant, a black car pulled up outside the bookstore, and everything changed again. The woman who stepped out of the car was elegant, composed, and unmistakably powerful. Victoria Blackwood, Alexander's mother and CEO of Blackwood Industries since her husband's death 5 years ago.
Maya's blood ran cold as Victoria entered the bookstore, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Their eyes met, and Maya saw no warmth there, only calculation. "Maya Chen," Victoria's voice was silk over steel. "We need to talk." Mr. Hoffman stepped forward protectively, but Maya touched his arm. "It's okay. I've got this." They sat in the back corner, surrounded by dusty first editions. Victoria studied Maya's pregnant belly with an unreadable expression. "My lawyers tell me you haven't signed the NDA," Victoria began. "Your lawyers are correct. May I ask why? $500,000 is a life-changing sum for someone in your circumstances." Maya felt anger rise in her chest. "Maybe I don't want to pretend your son didn't exist. Maybe I don't want to be paid to forget that he promised me forever and then vanished without a word. Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Pain? Regret? It vanished too quickly to identify. My son, Victoria said slowly, did not vanish by choice. Maya's heart stopped. What? Victoria leaned forward. 3 months ago, Alexander was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Inoperable. Terminal. Her voice remained steady, but Maya saw her hands tremble slightly. The doctors gave him 18 months at best. He didn't want you to watch him die. He thought disappearing would be kinder. The world tilted. Maya gripped the table's edge, unable to breathe. He's dying? He was dying. Victoria's composure cracked just slightly. Against all odds, an experimental treatment in Switzerland has been working. The tumor is shrinking. Alexander is going to live. Maya's emotions whiplashed so violently she thought she might shatter. Relief, rage, confusion, love. He should have told me, she whispered. He should have let me be there. I know. Victoria reached into her purse and withdrew a letter, worn at the edges as if it had been handled many times. He wrote this for you months ago, made me promise to deliver it only if he survived. Maya took the letter with shaking hands but didn't open it. Why are you really here, Mrs. Blackwood? Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Because my son is alive and he asks about you every single day. Because in 6 weeks he's coming home, and because despite my initial objections to your relationship, I've spent months watching him fight to live, and the only name on his lips has been yours. She stood, smoothing her immaculate coat. That NDA wasn't Alexander's idea. It was mine. I was trying to protect him, and yes, protect my family's reputation. I was wrong. The admission seemed to cost her something. Whatever you decide, that check remains yours with no strings attached. Consider it an apology. Victoria left as elegantly as she'd arrived, leaving Maya alone with a letter that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She opened it with trembling fingers. My forever Maya. If you're reading this, I survived, and I owe you an explanation, an apology, and a truth I should have been brave enough to tell you from the start. Alexander's letter explained everything. The headaches he'd hidden, the diagnosis that shattered him, the desperate decision to disappear rather than burden her with his death. He'd watched her from afar as long as he could, had someone check on her welfare. When he learned about her parents' cruelty, he'd wanted to intervene, but his mother convinced him it would only complicate Maya's healing. I was a coward, he wrote. I told myself I was protecting you, but I was protecting myself from seeing goodbye in your eyes. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done, and loving you was the best. Maya read the letter 17 times. She cried until she had no tears left. Then she called Destiny. Girl, that is the most dramatic thing I've ever heard. So, what are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to run to him. Part of me wants to never see him again. And the third part? Maya touched her belly, where the baby kicked strongly. The third part wants him to know he's going to be a father. The next 6 weeks were agony. Maya threw herself into preparation, finishing her online courses, saving money, getting the baby's room ready at the shelter. Grace had offered to let her stay even after birth, for as long as she needed. She didn't respond to Alexander's letter, didn't know what to say. Every day brought new emotions, anger at his abandonment, sympathy for his impossible situation, fear of being hurt again, and beneath it all, a love that refused to die no matter how she tried to smother it. Victoria called twice. Maya didn't answer. A bouquet of flowers arrived at the bookstore, white lilies, Maya's favorite. She donated them to a hospital. You're punishing him, Destiny observed. Maybe he deserves it. Maybe, but are you punishing yourself too? What would you do in Maya's position? Forgive him or walk away? Let me know in the comments. The baby came 3 weeks early. Maya was shelving books when her water broke, sending her into a panic. Mr. Hoffman called an ambulance while she called Destiny, who met her at the hospital with Grace right behind. The labor was long and difficult, 18 hours of pain, fear, and exhaustion. But at 3:47 a.m. on November 15th, Maya held her daughter for the first time, and every broken piece of her heart fused back together. "Hi, baby girl," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm your mama, and I'm going to love you more than anything in this world." She named her Lily. Lily Hope Chen. Maya had been home from the hospital for 3 days when the knock came. She opened the door expecting Destiny. Instead, she found Alexander Blackwood standing on the shelter's porch, thinner than she remembered, with shadows under his eyes and trembling hands. For a long moment, neither spoke. "Maya?" Her name and his voice undid something inside her. "I just found out about the baby. My mother just told me." His eyes were wet. "I have a daughter?" "You have a daughter you almost never knew about because you left." "I know. God, I know." He stepped closer, and she saw the scar along his hairline from the surgeries. "I was wrong. I was so wrong, Maya. I thought I was dying, and I couldn't bear to—" "To what? Let me decide for myself? Let me choose to be there for you?" Years of pain erupted from her chest. "You didn't protect me, Alex. You abandoned me. My parents threw me out. I was homeless, pregnant and homeless because you decided I couldn't handle the truth." Alexander's face crumpled. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I will spend the rest of my life being sorry." "Sorry doesn't change what happened." "No, but maybe I can change what happens next, if you let me." From inside the shelter, Lily began to cry. Maya glanced back, then at Alexander. Something in her expression must have softened because hope flickered in his eyes. "Can I meet her?" he asked quietly. "Please, Maya, I just want to see her."
Maya let him in. Watching Alexander hold Lily for the first time broke down walls Maya had spent months building. His hands trembled. Tears fell freely down his cheeks. He looked at his daughter like she was a miracle, because to him, she was. Proof that he had survived, that his love for Maya had created something beautiful despite everything. "She has your eyes," he whispered. "She has your stubbornness," Maya replied, and despite everything, she almost smiled. The following weeks were complicated. Alexander wanted to be present, and Maya found herself letting him. Tentatively, guardedly. He came every day, helped with feedings and diaper changes, held Lily while Maya slept. He asked for nothing, demanded nothing, simply showed up and loved his daughter. But Maya kept her heart locked away. She couldn't trust him, not again. "You're scared," Destiny observed, "and that's valid, but you're also still in love with him." "Love isn't enough," Maya said. "Love didn't stop him from leaving." Then the news broke. A tabloid had discovered Alexander's secret relationship and love child. The headline screamed, "Blackwood heirs hidden scandal. Homeless teen mom paid off by billionaire family." The story twisted everything. Made Maya look like a gold digger, made Alexander look like a predator. The unsigned NDA was leaked, cast as proof that Maya had tried to extort the family. Maya's phone exploded with notifications. Reporters appeared outside the shelter. Her picture was everywhere, her privacy destroyed. She confronted Alexander in a rage. "Did you do this? Did your family leak this to control the narrative?" "No, Maya, I swear." "I can't do this." She was shaking, Lily crying in her arms. "Every time I think things might be okay, something destroys it. Maybe we're just not meant to be. Maybe your world and mine were never supposed to collide." "Don't say that, please." "I need you to leave." Her voice broke. "I need space. I need to think." Alexander left. Maya collapsed in tears. For the first time, she considered signing the NDA, taking Lily and disappearing forever. It was Grace that found her that night, sitting in the dark nursery with Lily asleep in her arms. I've watched a lot of young women come through these doors. Some running from love, some running to it. You know what I've learned? Maya shook her head. The ones who find happiness aren't the ones who wait for perfect circumstances. They're the ones brave enough to love despite the mess. Grace sat beside her. That young man made terrible decisions, but he made them because he was dying and afraid, not because he didn't love you. How can I ever trust him again? You can't. Not completely. Not yet. Grace smiled gently. Trust is rebuilt one moment at a time. The question is, do you think he's worth the effort? Maya thought of Alexander's hands trembling as he held Lily, his eyes when he looked at Maya, the letter he'd written when he thought he was dying, filled with nothing but love and regret. I think maybe he is, she whispered. The next morning, Maya called Victoria Blackwood. I want to do a press conference, together. The real story. All of it. Victoria was silent for a long moment. That would mean exposing Alexander's illness, our family's private struggles. I know, but I won't let lies define my daughter's history. She deserves to know her parents fought for each other, that our love story, messy as it is, was real. Another pause. Then Victoria said something Maya never expected. You really do love my son. I never stopped. The press conference took place at Blackwood Industries headquarters. Maya stood beside Alexander and Victoria before a sea of cameras. Her hands trembled until Alexander quietly took one in his own. I'd like to tell you a story, Maya began. Not the story the tabloids have been selling. The real story. She told them everything. The romance, the diagnosis, the devastating choice Alexander had made, her parents' abandonment, the shelter that saved her, the birth of Lily, the painful journey back to each other. Alexander Blackwood didn't abandon me. He tried to save me from grief, even though it nearly destroyed us both. Was he wrong? Yes. But love makes us do foolish things. What matters is that he survived. He came back, and every day since, he's been proving that he's willing to fight for our family. Alexander stepped forward, emotion raw in his voice. Maya Chen is the bravest person I've ever known. She faced homelessness, single motherhood, and public humiliation with more grace than I could ever manage. She didn't sign that NDA because she refused to let anyone erase our love. And I spent months fighting to live because I couldn't imagine a world where I didn't get to tell you I was sorry. He turned to Maya, taking both her hands. The cameras flashed, but neither noticed. I can't undo the pain I caused you, but I can spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt my love again. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a ring. Simple, elegant, nothing like the ostentatious gems his wealth could afford. This was my grandmother's. She told my grandfather she'd marry him after knowing him 2 weeks. They had 53 years together. His voice shook. Maya Chen, will you give me a chance at 53 years? Maya thought of everything they'd survived. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment she thought her heart would never heal. Then she thought of Lily, of second chances, of a love stubborn enough to survive the impossible. Yes, she whispered. The wedding was small and private, held at the shelter that saved Maya, with Grace officiating and Destiny as maid of honor. Lily, now 6 months old, wore a tiny white dress and slept through the ceremony in her grandmother Victoria's arms. Victoria had changed.
Watching her son nearly die had stripped away her coldness, and watching Maya's strength had earned her grudging it respect that slowly transformed into genuine affection. She'd personally funded an expansion of the Sunrise Shelter, ensuring hundreds more young mothers would find the same haven Maya had found. Maya's parents had reached out after the press conference. She hadn't responded. Maybe someday she would. Maybe forgiveness would come with time. But for now, her family was Lily, Alexander, and the community of women who had held her up when everyone else let her fall. Stanford had deferred her scholarship. In the fall, she would begin her freshman year, not as the naive girl that left, but as a mother, a wife, and a survivor. Alexander had offered to hire nannies, tutors, whatever she needed. Maya had accepted some help, declined other offers. She would build her own success, her own way. "You know what I keep thinking about?" Maya asked Alexander one evening as they watched Lily sleep. "That coffee shop in the rain. I was so lost, so hopeless. I never imagined this." "I keep thinking about the hospital in Switzerland, lying in bed after surgery, not knowing if I'd wake up. The only thing I wanted was more time. Time to apologize. Time to hold you again. Time to meet the child I didn't know existed."
"And now you have time. Now we have time." He kissed her forehead. "All the time in the world." What do you think made Maya and Alexander's love survive everything they faced? What would you have done differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Outside, the rain began to fall. The same rain that had witnessed Maya's darkest moment almost a year ago. But now, standing in her daughter's nursery with her husband's arms around her, Maya heard only music. She had lost everything: her home, her family, her faith in love. She had been homeless, pregnant, abandoned, and betrayed. But she had never been broken. And from the ruins of her old life, she had built something stronger. A family forged in fire, a love that had survived death itself, a future brighter than anything she'd ever dared to dream. Maya Chen had walked through hell, and she had emerged, at last, in the light. Thank you for listening. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional journey. Until next time, keep believing in second chances.